it captures your heart. I can't begin to tell you how it's helped me immensely. So anything, not just the Hebrew language, anything that you want to learn, you sing it, and I guarantee you it'll stick to you. Okay, it's going to stick to you. All right, so let's pull up what we want to look at, so we can. I'm going to try to keep the class within time frame, which is about an hour. I don't want to give you too much, because if I do, you might overload. Now, the rules of the game is that you have to acknowledge that you are willing to make a mistake. You can't be in my class unless you acknowledge that I'm okay with making mistakes. Okay. Because when you make a mistake, all it means is that you're going to, be open to learning, because that's how we learn. We make mistakes. So it's okay to be wrong. And that's what I've been trying to tell people. It's okay to be wrong, because at least you have a desire to want to do that which is right. Nobody wants to be wrong, but we're wrong sometimes, and that's okay. And it helps us learn. Lesson number 1 is an introductory lesson. All of us know what a verb is. All a verb is a word that describes an action. Okay, so when I've already sent this over to you. I don't know if you checked your email, but I sent it over to you. You already have it. We already know what a verb is. Okay. And so they're giving us an example in a sentence. The boy is learning. Learning is the verb, because that's the action that the boy is doing. The girl is praying. That's the verb. She's praying. In the Hebrew, verbs are made up of 3 letters. Okay. Make it a little bigger so everyone can see. They're made of 3 letters. Okay. Often you will see that I will throw extra information on to the teaching if I want to expand a little bit more, because this book just gives you the basics. It doesn't really break things out all the way, and it can only do so much. So I always look at it from an agricultural standpoint. I think that's what makes my class different than other classes, because they really don't know the ancient Hebrew, right? They don't care about, the aleph being the octet, or the kaf being the palm, and then the staff, right? So, and they also don't know, a lot of people don't know that the 3 letters are basically what kind of root, because they tell you it's a root, but they don't tell you what kind of root it is. So I kind of expand. So what is if it's a root, then you have a parent root and you have a child root. Okay. So how many parents do you have?
2.
That's it. Simple. That's what a parent root is. So it consists of 2 consonants, 2 letters. Okay. When there's a child root, that's somebody being added to the 2, which is the parents. So here's the parents are going to be in there, and they're going to add another one. That's 3. So it's the parents and then the child. Those of you who have been in my class before, you know what letters are the child. How there's 4 letters that are used to determine a child root. Okay. So what natural born children, I always liken the Hebrew language to being a family. Okay. It's a family of letters. Okay. So this verb is basically the action of and how it functions. All right. So the 4 letters that you have to make up a natural born child, because they have regular children, and then they also have adopted children. So there's adopted roots as well. Okay. Adopted roots are going to be roots that don't have one of the 4 letters that make up a natural born child to that family. Now I'm going to someone tell me if you remember what those letters are for a natural born child. There's 4 of them.
Yod? No.
Aleph, yes. Aleph is 1. Yod is 1. Yes. 2 more.
Wa. The wa.
The wa, yes. And what else?
And hey.
There you go. Those are the 4 natural born children. So when you look at a 3-letter root, if you see the aleph in it, you automatically know it's possible. You have to, of course, look at the lexicon and see if it is, because the aleph can be, it could be a family, it could be a father. You never know. So, but when you see something like this, and you don't see any of these letters in that root, it tells you something about that. Is that a natural born child, or is that an adopted child?
Natural.
No, the natural's
No.
up here.
Oh,
Thank you for making that mistake. Because you know why you did that? Because you want to know the truth. Okay. In here, there is no aleph, there is no hey, there is no wa, and there is no yod, and there is no aleph. So automatically, when you see this, you'll be like, oh, that's an adopted child. You said, well, why is this important? Because you got to know. That's something that you should know. Okay. So that's me expanding the learning. Okay. And guess what? We're always going over. So if you don't remember it, review the tape and we'll go over it again. All right. So 3 letters. They're called a root. All right. They don't tell you what type, but it's a root. All right. So here are the 3 letters, and all of them mean something in terms of a verb, an action. A call is to eat. Devar is to speak. And shamar is to guard. What's interesting here is that you don't see any vowel points in any of this, do you?
no.
There's no dots. There's no indications. There's no, except for over on the shin. There's no dot over here. There's none of this. Okay. So you don't know how things are being said. You just know that it's an action. Okay. Now, in the Hebrew, right, when you're using Hebrew verbs in the past, the present, or the future, because these are the 3 ways that it can be used. And these are called tenses. Okay. What tense is it in? Is it in the past? Is it in the present or the future? 1, 2, 3. That's all it is. Okay. Because it's always going to be in the past, present, and future. There's nowhere else. We simply are going to do something to determine whether something's in the past, the present, or the future. So it tells us how do you do that. So to make it quick and easy, very simple, if something's in the past, they're going to put the letter, they're going to add a letter to the what? To the end of the verb. Okay. If it's something in the present tense, in the middle of it, something in the middle of being done, they're going to put the letter in the middle of the verb. Okay. So the 3-letter verb is still going to stay the same. They're just going to add a letter onto the end of it. And they're going to give us some examples here in a moment. The future tense, since it's in the future, it's in front of you. It's really in front of us, right? So they're going to put the letter in front of the 3-letter root letters. Very simple. It's nothing but a puzzle. That's all it is. So the past, the present, the future. At the end, meaning it happened in the past. In the middle, it's in the middle of being done. And in the front of the letter or front of the root, it's in front of us. It's in the future. Okay. And there's other little rules that go along with that, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Okay. So for example, they give us these in particular root letters, and then they added letters to it. So you're going to see that, the root for shamar right here. Let's get rid of all that right quick. And then you see T. That means I, and it's in the past. Why is it in the past? Somebody tell me.
It's at the end.
It's at the end. Here's a letter right here in the middle. So what is that? Past, present, or future?
Present.
Present. You got something right here in the front of it. So it's something's going to happen. It's in the future. Okay. Now, was that hard?
No.
No. This book was designed for children, right? So we have to take a child's mindset, be open to, be like kids with this, have fun with it, learn, make mistakes. Not a big deal. That's what I'm trying to show you. That is not a big deal when you make mistakes. It's actually fun. When I was a kid, I made a mistake. Everybody in the class would laugh at me, but then I was always eager. So I always threw my hand up and always wanted to know, right? Well, what happened here? What happened here? What? Let me stop this right quick. Let me see. All right. So let me just
Somehow I'm the host, so
I think you may
hopefully,
have broke or
yeah,
lost it.
okay. Not sure how he's gonna get back on.
May notify you to let them in.
Yeah, it notified me about Kalia, but no one else, nothing else showed up.
So we're just waiting for Brother Akika to come back on.
I'm good.
I think-
I'm back on. I don't know what happened, you guys. Everybody's still here. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, I don't know what that was. It just kicked me out. Okay. So let's go back to what we were talking about. That was strange. All right. So at any rate, why is it? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for the sake of what just happened, I don't want to go back on YouTube. I don't know if they're kicking me out or whatever, but let's just stay here for a second. All right. So basically, it's always about past, present, and future. All right. So when we talk about the past, they're always going to put the letters on the end of the word, okay, or the three letters. You're talking about the future, they're going to put it on the front. If you're talking about the present, they're going to put a letter in the middle. So I've already sent this over to you all, right? If you don't know what these letters mean, like, you know, T and ta and ta and ah and nu and tem and ten and ood and ooh, then just come right over here and look at what they mean. And it tells you if it's masculine, it's feminine, it tells you if it's he or she. That's so what it's boiling down to is what I'm going to outline for you. First person, it's right here. Second person is you. Second person is you. Third person is he or she or it. See? Okay. We is a first person common, right? Plural. This up here is a first person, right? Singular. Okay. Common singular, excuse me. Okay. These with yous right here are second person, plural, plural. And then they'll let you know. There you go, right there. And it'll let you know if it's masculine or feminine. This is third. So what we get confused on is we don't understand that there's only three people that's always talked about. It's either going to be a first person singular or it's going to be a first person common plural. Okay. That's first person, common plural, group of people, singular, I, we, plural. The yous right here are singular, but they could be masculine and feminine. So they'll give you the endings here to let you know what that is. Here in the second plural, right? Second person here, and there's plurals. It'll tell you what those endings are. Okay. So what you'll do is I want you to recognize the letters that are being used for first, second, and all these types of things. So here at the top, it tells you that the tav is this, but this little yod right here is an indicator that is different from these two right here. And you can see the markings underneath this one is completely different than this one. So one is like this and the other one is like this. And we're going to go over that. Okay. But it just basically means this is masculine and this is feminine. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. And an easy way for you to remember that is think about gender and you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay. When something is in the third person, it doesn't have any ending. It's perfect. There's nothing added to it. And if it's just three letters by itself, it means he or it. It's perfect. So there's nothing added to it. There's nothing put on the front of it. It doesn't need anything because it's in its perfect form. It's completely perfect. This one right here in the feminine third person, she's perfect too, even though they added something onto her. Tell me why they added this. Why they add that to the word? If you look at it carefully, it's exactly the same as he up here is exactly the same, except for the vowel points. Shin, the mem.
To
Why they add-
distinguish it's feminine?
Yes. So there you go. You see? So that lets you know that that's feminine. Okay. And then here you just look and you say, well, that's the root. And then here's the one that's on the end. So we know it's in the past tense. Okay. So that's the table for the past, the present, and the future. All right. So where this study goes from the beginning is just only going to deal with the past. That's the only thing they want to deal with in the beginning. That's all we're going to be talking about for the next several chapters. The future and the present tense are a whole nother thing. Okay. So if we're only going to be talking about the past, we're going to talk about how the vowels work underneath the letters in the past, because they work differently. They don't work the same in the future. They look completely different, as you can see. Completely different. In the future, they look completely different. So you'll learn about that. You're going to learn, what those vowel points are. All right. So we're only dealing right now with the past. That's all we're going to be dealing with. They just bring us to this to show us that, hey, this is what you're going to be learning. All right. So it says all this information that we learned in the first book, which is the basics about nouns. Now in the verbs, however, you're going to notice something that they did not discuss when they had the first book, which is the voweling. Why are these vowel points here? Why they look the way that they look? What do they mean? Okay. So the reason for this was that they were able to translate accurately all the verbs we encountered without taking the vowels into account, meaning they didn't put the vowel points in there because they didn't want to confuse us. Okay. For example, they said, let's take a look at the word occulty. Okay. It's made of two parts. Again, it's a puzzle. So the two parts are going to be, the first part of any word is going to be the root. So I always suggest that you always look for the root. Okay. But if you know your endings, then you'll know like, okay, that's the ending, then that must be the root. Because it's always going to be like, hey, let me find the root. And you can find that by knowing your endings and also by knowing your roots. That's your vocabulary. In your first book, they gave you the vocabulary like, hey, a call, so forth and so on. I think they do have some vocabulary here. I'm not too sure, but we'll see. So here, a call means to eat. That's the first part. And then here, the T that's added to the end. And so we put it together. The puzzle together means I ate. So a question for you is, what part of I ate is, I will say, what part of this word is I? That's my question.
The T.
Thank
The
you.
towel.
There you go. Perfect. Excellent. That's the I. Okay. Then ate. Okay. So if you notice when you're translating, you're reading it, I ate, right? But when you're reading in Hebrew, you read this direction, meaning ate I, which doesn't make sense for our mind. Okay. So when you read something in Hebrew, you're reading this way. So you would say a called T. Okay. But in translation, you're going to go this way. I ate. Okay. So you're going to read this way, and then you're going to translate this way. And what's good about this is that this causes your eyes to go this direction first, and then it turns and goes this direction. So now you're going from the right, okay, and then you're going to the left. And then you're going from the left, and you're going back to the right. Your eyes are directly connected to your brain, and you're using both hemispheres of the sides of your brain. So number one, when you first start learning this language, you get tired really fast. Your actual head starts hurting because you haven't done this, because your eyes are now moving in this direction. That's all they're doing. And you're not used to that. And so in the study, you might start reading this way, English. And you'll be tripping out like, what am I doing? Like, can I come back? Did I lose my mind? But you will eventually. After a while, your head will stop hurting. And you won't get a headache, because you will at first. Okay. Some have experienced that. I have. All right. So basically, that's how you put these words together. So we already know that. All right. So a call T means I ate. Okay. So that's going to show you how to do that. Here is another way, okay, of saying something. And I don't want to skip over it. It says we are able to come to the translation without taking into account. They didn't take into account the voweling of anything. We didn't look at that because we already knew what our root was. Okay. However, it says, please look now at the following word, equality. Okay. Equality. Okay. This word is also made up of two parts, which is the call, which we had up top, and the same thing T. But there's something different. Okay. So they're going to explain to us what's different. What's different for us is they're inserted some different type of vowels. The vowels are different. So look at here right quick so I can show you the contrast. The contrast here, let me see. Oh, okay. The contrast here is they say they're exactly the same in terms of the letters, right? They're exactly the same with the call, the root, and they're exactly the same with the ending, but it's different. But it said, how could this be? How can these mean two different things? Well, they said we just saw above a called T means I ate. And you cannot say that they are the same word. Why? Because a called T has this verb underneath this vowel point, which is a ah. I don't want to get into the name of it right now because it's too much information. And if they wanted to express what it was, it's called a kamatz hatuf. And I don't feel like explaining to you where that comes from because that's not what this book is designed for. I'm just here to teach you how to look for things and what they mean and what the sound is. Okay, so aw is underneath there. That's the voweling that they use under the first letter. Whereas in the word that they just told us, there's a dot. It's equality. Okay, so there's some differences by that first vowel point under the first letter. And remember, we're dealing with, I'll ask you a question. Are we dealing with past, present, or future?
Past.
We're dealing with past right now. We're not dealing with the future and we're not dealing with anything. So keep your mind set on the past. And you should know it's the past because why?
It has the at the end.
The letters at the end. Very good. So it says before we start to answer this question, let's look at another similar word. So they don't want to answer it yet. Okay, and neither am I. This word right here is very similar and it's made up of three parts. The other two were two parts. This is a three part. So here's the three parts. Number one, number two, and number three. Simple. Okay. Once again, the root you're looking for is a call. That means to eat. We know what that is. We know the T means I on the end tells us in the past tense. We know that. Now what they've done is means I. So basically it means, or it seems to have once again mean I ate, right? But however, there's something different. There's something different about this. Now we have another letter on the front of it. Okay. So this raises a question, and also too, it might pose some confusion to you because what we've learned is that if we add any letters to the front of something, then that means that it is what? It's in the future tense. So if we see this, we'll automatically think, okay, there's a letter added to it in the front. So is this a past, present, and future? Well, I don't know. So the way that I answer that question is the first thing that I understand is that there's several things that can happen here. If you don't know your root, you would automatically think this is all one word or this one right here, if you don't know your root. Okay. But I know my roots. So I know that a call is the root and it means three letters. I know that the hey that's on the front can mean two things. It can be confusing. The hey on the front of any word in Hebrew could be the or the, okay? But that's from a noun perspective, okay? If I don't know my root here, then I don't know that it's a verb. I can actually make a mistake and think that it's a noun. And I would think that that hey on the front is the. And I can actually think, if I don't know my root, I would actually think that it's another word. Because there are some words that begin with the letter hey, like havel or, haya. There's all different types of words. So you got to know your roots. That's what I'm telling you. Okay. So, but in this case, we're dealing with verbs. Okay. So it's at the front of it. So how do I differentiate? How do I know? Well, they're going to tell us. Okay. And I have some more tips for you. It says, but for sure, this cannot be the case. It can't be the same as I ate alone, because the verb there is not just a change of vowels like we saw with these two examples. There was a change in vowels so that we know that things have changed, but there's an extra letter hey added to the front of the verb as well. This obviously makes a word different, right, from a call and e-call. And they're asking what's the difference, and they're going to tell us. So they're getting us to think and ask questions. And the question is, what's the difference? And the difference is let me see, did I go to the right one? It says 6. Yeah, what's the difference? Okay. They say here, the answer, okay, because there's an answer to all these questions, is that we know that a call describes the act of eating. We know that's what the root means. However, the act of eating can be done in 3 different ways. Okay, so you can eat in 3 different ways. And this is where things get, I won't say confusing, because you and I haven't really understood language from this perspective. When we told someone ate, they just ate. We didn't look on how it was being done. We just think eating is eating. But there's 3 different ways that this is being done. Okay, which they give us right here: first way, second way, and third way. Okay, and these 3 different ways are going to be divided into 3 different groups. Okay, so the first group that I want to go over is what they call a simple and a normal fashion. So basically, a call can mean to eat. I ate, all right, to eat, okay? But you can eat it in a very normal way, or you can eat it in a very forceful way, in an intense way. So now you're not eating anymore in the sense that I'm eating simply. I'm actually devouring. So instead of me just eating normal sandwich, now I'm like eating like, like a savage. I'm just, so there's a different way you're doing it. The third way that you can do this is you can cause someone else to eat. So when you do that, it means I fed. So I can eat normally, simply, and then I can devour something forcefully and intensive with intensity. And then I can also cause someone to eat, which is I can feed them, or I can feed them. All right. So from the one action of eating, can come out 3 different English words. I eat, I devour, and I fed, just from this one word. And what makes a difference is, what are the vowel points? So I'm just going to show you what it is. Under the first letter, it can either be this one, it could be this one, or it could be this. And that will tell you how that action is being done. Okay. So there's some memory that you have to understand, that you're going to have to memorize, which is perfectly okay. Because once you get it, you'll get it and you'll never forget it. Okay. It says in the Lashon HaKodesh, however, we do not have 3 different words for these 3 different acts. So in the Hebrew language, because that's what the Lashon HaKodesh, the tongue of set apart, it's a very special language. The Creator didn't give 3 different words for these acts, for these 3 different actions in the past. What they've done is they can take that in particular root word, and like I said, they can put these markings underneath it and tell you exactly what it is. So if you know your pieces to the puzzle, then you wouldn't know what's going on. For example, let's make it easy, right? Let's don't make it difficult. Because when I first learned the Hebrew language, I was like, man, look at all these dots and all these symbols. And, look right here, for example. I'm just going to expand it just a little bit right here. Let me see. Look at this. When you read this, you'd be like, man, what's all this? What's all this underneath here? What's all this? And all these dots and stuff. How am I gonna, and the dots in here and the dot over here and look at all this. So I got to memorize all this, right? And the first thing I thought, well, okay, I got to know how to make it sound. So that's this is reduced and this here is some people say some people say ah. I don't really get into that because scholars differ on opinion on how the Masoretic text should be said. I keep it simple because I know what the root is and I know what the first letter means and I know what this means. So I can interpret it, right? And of course, there's different dialects, but what I'm saying to you is I'm going to teach you about the confusion of all this. That's the confusing part. So this is the reason why you want to learn your actual roots. So if you know your root, that's the basis. That's the part that's in the ground, like a tree. And out of that tree comes all these other words. You see? So this is the foundation of the structure. And these here are added to tell you different words. Like, the hay tells you something different. And then there's another stem over here, meaning that, I, and this other one here is caused. And this other one here is forceful, and this other one over here is this, and you see what I'm saying? So it's literally like a garden or a tree or a plant. So I'm going to teach you not only how you say these things, but I'm going to connect the sound to the actual meaning for you, okay? Which they really don't do here, all right? But I'm going to teach it to you so it can really stick, not just, dots and slashes, okay? So in the example that they're giving us here, they're telling us about these 3 ways that are done in the past. Number 1 is going to be in a simple, normal action. Number 2 is going to be forceful, intensive, okay? And number 3 is going to be something that you are going to cause someone else to do. That's basically what it is, all right? So amazingly, simply by changing the vowels or adding a hey to the root, you can create 3 different words. And this is the reason why, if you know 600 Hebrew words based off of what they just told you right here in 3 different times in 3 different ways, you actually have 1,800 different words now that you know. So if you learn 1,000 Hebrew roots, you really know how many words just off of the past tense. You'll know 3,000. You'll have 3,000 words that you already know off of this. So the root will be able to expand. I think I told my class in the Torah that Yah wants us to learn not to contract, but to expand. So what you're doing by coming to class today is you're expanding. You're going from 1 word to 3 easily. So every word that you learn, you can multiply it by 3. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So that's how you do it. And that's how easy it is. All right. And so, of course, they said the first letter. Let me not skip. As you can see for yourself, it's easy to identify which meaning of any root has, because the first letter of the root has either this mark underneath it, and they're going to give us a chart which tells us something is being done in a simple or normal action, okay, in a certain way. When it has this underneath it, it's telling you it's with force and intensity. And when it has this on front of it, it means that someone is causing someone else to do an action. That's basically what I wanted to teach you today. Now, from a Hebraic standpoint, these things here have names, okay? This actually has a name, but they're not telling us what it is, and I'm not going to tell you, okay? And the reason I don't want to tell you is because at the end, you're going to find out and be like, oh, it all makes sense now. So today, these are the things that I want you to focus on, those little 3 things. This, and this. Okay? That's what you're going to focus on. So how do you say that? How do you say this right here? What's the sound?
Ah.
Ah. Okay? Do you do it forcefully like, ah? You just go, ah.
Ah.
Ah. You see how that was a very simple, normal, there's no, and did you feel it in your throat? Say it again, everyone. Ah.
Ah,
Do you feel any tension in your throat? No, you
No.
don't, do you? Okay, now I'm gonna do this. This is eh, eh. When you say eh, I want you to be like, make it two E's or make it like a eh for it. Okay. When you say it, okay, what does your face feel like? What's the shape of your mouth? Do you have to kind of force that? Eh.
yes. Eh.
Do you feel it? It's hard, right? You got to kind of tighten your throat up a little bit. So you got to force things and it becomes really intense. You see? So the sounds, right, go along with these vowel points. The sounds will tell you the way that you make the sound determines how your muscles in your throat or in your mouth and your lips, they will change. And that's how they know something is forceful. And that's how they know something's intense based on what the mouth or the throat feels like, or the palate or your tongue. When I say, ah, it's just like coming straight out, no problem. I say, eh, my mouth changes, my eyes. You can't say eh without raising your cheekbones up to your eye. You can't say it. Not with the way it's supposed to be said. You can say eh, but you got to be eh. So you got to open your mouth and say eh. When you say ha, here, ha, it means to cause. Okay, it's causing someone. So all they're doing is they're showing us, and remember, it's always going to be on the third letter of the root, right? Right? Somebody answer me.
No.
No, where's it going to be?
On the first.
There you go. You said it's the first. Don't be afraid to say what's right.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing stuff like this in class because I told you I'm having fun. I'm seeing who's paying attention. You should have looked at the third letter and be like, that letter's not even there. It's right here. A lot of times when I say stuff, it's right in front of your face. I want you to look for it. So get your eyes sharp and be looking all the time. Okay. So ah, eh, and ha. Okay. Or in front. And of course, this can change. It could be it could be ha. It could be he. It could be ha. It could be he. It could be any of these. Okay. And of course, when we get into that, it'll tell you what it means. Okay. So these are the basics. Is this too hard?
It's great.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. So now that we understand that an action can be done in three different ways, simple, forceful, and causative, that's going to be the central theme of this book, meaning like you're going to divide it into different parts for us, right? And they're going to help us identify these actions when they're describing a verb, because it has to be identified. And so in the first section of this book, what we're going to look at is all the verbs in the past tense. And then in the second and third sections, you're going to look at the future tense and present tense. They're going to use the present tense at the end because it seems to be one of the most confusing and not difficult, but it's different. It's not as easy. And I think the way that they put everything together, it makes sense. It does. Because I was asking myself, why did they put the present tense in, instead of it being in the middle of the book, they put it at the end. They have a purpose behind it. So this book is really, really good. It says, with the background information in mind, now we're ready to start the main part of the book. Okay. However, before we go on, you're going to turn to the next page. We're going to summarize everything that you learned. And what they want us to know here is that to keep things short and simple, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for simplicity. In this summary throughout the rest of the book, they're going to describe these verbs and these actions being done in simple by identifying them as group one. Okay, things that are being done forcefully are going to be group two verbs. It's going to be called group two. Group number three would be causing someone to do another action. So in the book, I'll ask you, is this a group one? Is it a group two or a group three? So everything is always 1, 2, 3. Okay, it could either be first person, it could be second person, it could be third person, it could be past, present, okay, and future. Okay, it also can be masculine and feminine. It can either singular or plural. These are the things that you're going to be dealing with. And they're easy. It's not hard. So here we got group 1. You got group 2 and group 3. This is simple. This one here is intense. And the next one here is causative. And I want you to remember, make an acronym. SICK. It's SICK. Simple, intensive, and causative. Because that's how you learn. You're not going to always remember simple, intensive, forceful, causative. You're not going to be going to all that. Just say it's sick. So if I say sick, you already know what it is. This is sick, man. So this is simple, intense, causative. So you got to make acronyms. Okay. I got one called PGN. Or I could turn into PNG. P is what? Just think about it. I just told you some things over here. P is what? Person. Okay, so what's G?
Gender.
Yeah, and what's N? Number. Okay, so the number also can tell you if it's singular or plural. Okay, so I got sick and I got PGN or PNG. Depends on which way is going to vibe with you. Okay, and you know if it's in the past if the letter's on what?
Then.
The N. You know it's in the present if the letter's where?
The middle,
Yep, and you know it's in the future if a letter is added to what?
beginning.
The beginning or the front. It's simple.
Right.
Now you guys are super. That was super easy, right? That's not hard. Marcia, I sent it to you guys. So you guys already got this in your mailbox.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so here it is. Here's a summary table. That ain't hard, is it?
Ah.
All right. So what I want to teach you right before I go is an exercise that helped me learn this. I need you to turn on some music and I need you to go, and just keep looking at group number 1 and say it's simple. Okay. Group 2, E, feel the force. It's forceful. Okay. Sick. Okay. And causative is group number 3, the hey. You don't really have to make a sound for it. Okay. And that's what it is. And so what they're doing, everyone, is they're just adding this to the front of the first letter. Okay. So now that's huge. So now all of a sudden, when you go start reading the Bible Hub, you're gonna be like, hey, I know what this is. Let me see. And they will tell you, but they're going to be using the grammatical names like PL and qual and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get into. So let's just stay with group 1, group 2, and group 3. That's what I want you to memorize. Okay. So memorize this, put it in your catalog of things to do this week. And an easy thing for you to do is to look at the summary, right? So here's the summary, which you learned today. You knew that 3 letters or a root, you understand, a verb is an action. You found out today that, actions can be done in 3 different ways in the past, because we're not talking about future and we're not talking about present. You also understand that things can be simple, forceful, or causative, depending on if you add, the marking underneath the first letter right here, or this one, or this. Okay. And you just go through this little step-by-step process. And I know we're eager to learn even more and more and more. So it's not a problem. Okay. Let me see. Was that the summary? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So what I do too is I always, when I first started learning, I don't start with the lesson. I go to the summary. That's what I do. I go to the summary and say, okay, what did I learn? And I check it off like a little checkbox. So just check it off. I know what that is, because there is going to be some homework, by the way. Today, you're not getting any homework, but there will be. And you go over there, okay, I know what a root is. Okay, I know what that is. I don't know what those are. I'll memorize those later, but I got that. All right, do I know about the past, present, future, the in, the middle, and that? Yeah, I know where to put the pieces to the puzzle. Okay, now sick, or, I don't want the SPF or whatever. I'll go sick. I'll make it up. Make whatever you want. You don't have to turn to sick. You can say, make a name up for this if you want, Sally for college, or, set the feet, whatever you want. So you can memorize it. Okay. And then of course, at the bottom, it tells you that you can describe the action being done and you just read it and that's it. And it lets you know that it's in the past tense. Now, was that a hard lesson?
No,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
It's awesome, right? Now, if you know, now here's the thing. If you know it's not hard, right? Because we know it's not hard. We've discovered it's not hard, right? So now that we know that it's not hard, then expand, don't contract from it, because right now it's easy. And of course the difficulty will come, but if we build and take our time and build it and look at it, look at your information, like at least, I would say take out, and I really mean this, take out maybe 15 minutes a day and turn on the music and read it and study and sing it. Sing what you just read. Sing. Get it. Tell yourself, group one, make a song. Group one is, what's group one? Somebody tell me, sing it. Group one. There you go. Hey, that's it. You feel me? That's it. And guess what? Now you have an emotional connection to it. It's fun to you. You're not just looking at it, okay, well, that's some work. And that means, we don't work like that. You'll never learn if you look at it like that. Okay. So that's your class today. I got it done in 48 minutes. I feel good about that. So any questions?
Aki Dawid, the printing is a little blurry. Do you oppose to me having a book so that I'm not?
No, not at all. I'll
Okay.
send you, what I'll do is I'll send it to you. I'll send the author to you. I
Okay.
just like to, have people, go through the class and teach them. And so if there's any questions they can ask and they won't get confused and all that sorts of thing. I never withhold information.
Okay.
I-
Thank you.
I have-
Huh?
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
I was watching YouTube, and then it went down, and then it got back on. I was watching on YouTube, and I had a question on YouTube. The book that you sent in the beginning, like the one that you went through last time, you ended on lesson 16.
Uh-huh.
Is this the same book, or we got a different
No, it's
book?
a different book. This is-
Oh,
Yeah, this is a different book.
I need that book then.
Yeah, this is
How
a
do-
different book.
Wait, can you send me the author or whoever, and I can?
I'll send it over to you. Anyone else who wants to just let me know. Just let me know. A lot of people don't give up their resources because they don't want anybody to learn, right? And they're like holding them hostage. No, I'm encouraging you, learn and come to class if you want, boom, watch the video, whatever works for you, whatever's going to keep you interested in it. And then you can ask the teacher the questions and you can take the time and get more understanding. When I did it, I learned by myself and it was very, very difficult because I was trying to understand and I really didn't know. So I'm giving you the insight on what I experienced and what I went through and how it made everything better for me. So I'm giving you my secrets on what helps us as a people. So, I've learned that and it works. It does. And I've used it on a lot of things and I've also used it with a lot of people. A lot of people tell me it does work. It does work.
Since you've been teaching this class, like I got a book, and you said this is a different book. How many books am I behind?
Well, if you didn't have the first one, so you're only one book behind, which is the nouns. So I sent you a book. I sent you the Learn How to Read Biblical Hebrew, which is Jeff Brenner. And I sent that to you, which is the blue book, which talks about how to read. Okay.
Yeah.
So that book you have, and you can go through those lessons. I think there's 11 or 12 lessons. This one here, this in particular book, when you look at it, it's going to look like, I don't know if you see it. Yeah, I can't. It doesn't show it here. Okay. But anyway, this one here has 20 lessons. This has around 20 lessons. The other one we have has 16 lessons. So through each one of those lessons, you're going to build upon what you've learned. Okay. So even though you didn't go through the first book, that's for dealing with the nouns. Okay. Now we're dealing with verbs. So, you can still learn. You could still have to learn how to read. You're still gonna have to learn these things anyway. So what I don't want people to do is say, well, I didn't go through the first book, so I can't come to class because I don't know about that. No. If you just understand, like when you see this, the more you see something, it sticks. So just familiarize yourself with these elements of the language. Some people don't even know how to say the, and it's not bad. Some people don't know the alphabet in, who can't even say it right now. They don't know how to say it because I know how to sing it, but I know how to say it as well. And I know the numbers and I know what they look like. I know how to write it. I know how to do all that, but it didn't come like I just learned all that first and then I learned all this first and then I learned that. And it doesn't work like that. You're going to be piecing all over the place. If you missed a class, it doesn't mean that you're going to be out of sorts with everything. You still have to be in it. You're still going to see the aleph. You're still going to see the bet. You're going to still see the lamed. It's still going to mean eat. It's still going to mean that, but you're going to have to learn all these other things as well. So don't miss out on it. Okay. So thank you for coming to class today, everyone. And I'm happy that you're